Welcome back, everybody, coast to coast. This week in America, great to have you with us on the program. Information on all of the guests on the show at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. With us on the program, as mentioned, Dr. Roger Lucas. He's created a new way of thinking about cavity prevention that is a diet-first based approach, with over 60% of children in America getting cavities by age 5. Well, the old way of thinking about cavity prevention has not been getting the desired results. Dr. Lucas's goal is to help stop the cycle of parents getting surprised by cavities. With a degree in biochemistry from the University of Washington, he uses the laws of nutrition and microbiology to simplify getting zero cavities. As a practicing pediatric dentist north of Seattle, well, he's helped thousands of families achieve zero cavities. And as a dad, he can make it practical. His mission is to help children everywhere avoid cavities through proactive, practical steps. His first book, More Chocolate, No Cavities, will help change the way you think about cavities for the better and keep your child away from the needle and drill at the dentist office. Dr. Robert Lucas with us on the program. Doctor, great to have you on the show. Thanks for being with us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about teeth.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting. And you did hear the name of the book correctly, More Chocolate, No Cavities. And let's first of all talk about the widespread problem. In fact, you say that really it's becoming an epidemic and a public health crisis, and that's cavities in young children.
Yeah, it's the U.S. Oral Surgeons Report called it a silent epidemic because what happens, there's a misconception that baby teeth aren't important when they are to help the adult teeth come in. And also, if you get a cavity in your baby tooth and you're 4 or 5, it can be painful. And oftentimes by the time I or other pediatric dentists see kids, it's often too late. So every dentist I know wants to prevent these cavities. Sometimes they haven't figured out this diet-based approach, which I'm trying to spread the message to help other dentists and other families. And actually, it's easier than you think it is. That's why I think why I've been voted best kids dentist 6 years in a row, because parents actually like my message. I'm not preaching to them. I'm actually telling them how to get away with doing less.
We'll get to the message. First, this interesting, the background. You talk about being in dental school and everybody is taught to reduce cavities, and you're fine with that until you start having your own children. And then you're thinking, well, why can't I just eliminate cavities? Why do we even have to put up with it? Talk about that transition that you went through from let's try to reduce to we can eliminate. And then your approach is really science-based. This is not junk science. You actually went out, did research, and come up with this plan.
Yeah, and admittedly, a lot of people who've been preaching that diet prevents cavities for years have not been looking at the science. So when I first mention it, it gets lumped in that category. But the way I explain it in the biochemistry is very simple. When I explain it to dentists, it makes sense. I'm giving lectures to other dentists, and they're changing how they talk to patients. But it's let's see, I forgot, I lost my train of thought.
Well, yeah, it's like when you made that transition where it's like, okay,
oh yes,
we actually can prevent, and parents hear that and they look at More Chocolate, No Cavities. Well, that can't happen. It's sort of natural. You hear dentists say your child just has weak teeth. Don't worry about it. It's like sort of a rite of passage as they're growing up, and you sort of slam the door on that theory. That's like, no, that's really not true anymore.
Yeah, and so I've been practicing for 8 years, and the first 4 years of practice as a pediatric dentist. So I work only with kids 0 to 18, and what I found is, of course, there's the group that doesn't get cavities, and you think that it's from the normal recommendations: brushing 2 minutes a day, don't eat candy all the time, don't drink soda, don't sip on juice all day. Those are all what I call common sense prevention tips. They may not be common to patients, but dentists know that, and they're trying to preach it if you ask. And then of course there's the other end of the spectrum. Let's not talk about the other end of the spectrum today. The other end is parents that just aren't even trying. Everyone knows that soda is horrible for you. Everyone knows that just having candy all day is not good for you. Of course, those patients still get really bad cavities, but that's the point is I can't motivate those parents to change as well. We try, but it's a whole different step. But the part that was really frustrating me for the first 4 years until I figured out this diet-based approach was the group of parents who they do everything I say, the normal advice. They wouldn't eat lots of candy. They wouldn't even have juice. They wouldn't have soda. They brush really well. Maybe they would even floss. And then their 5-year-old, we take our first x-rays, and hidden in between those teeth were 8 cavities. And this sounds kind of crazy, but it happens to every dentist every single day all across America. And it's actually more preventable. It's actually preventable when you look at it from the foods that you give your kids. And a lot of these parents, you may think, oh, they must have been doing something wrong. A lot of dentists think, oh, you know what, if they only would have flossed since they were one, that would have helped. But I show through the science that the foods you give your kids to eat is even more important than flossing. I still recommend to floss. Some people, but we all know people that get away with it. And because these were doctors' kids, these were dentist kids, these were nutritionist kids. So I was treating other dentist kids, and their kid had cavities, and they just, the old paradigm, you go, well, I guess it's genetics. There's nothing we can do about it. And I've helped hundreds of families where their oldest kid had 8 cats, and now the youngest kid 5 years later had 0, with some very easy changes. And in fact, I even brush less than the average, a lot of other dentist kids, and my kids are still cavity free. So.
And you've got 3 young girls, as I recall, and this is something that you apply to. And I mentioned that that's really how this whole thing started. It's like, okay, I've got kids now, and I need to make sure that they're going to get through this without cavities. The guest on the program is Dr. Robert Lucas. Roger Lucas,
yeah.
More Chocolate, No Cavities is the name of the book. How diet can keep your kid cavity free. And let's talk about the actual diet, because you got to looking at this and then you realize you can't outfloss a bad diet and you can't outbrush a bad diet. And the problem you come back to is carbohydrates really create the problem. Let's talk about the diet that's bad.
Okay, let's talk about carbohydrates. So one of the first concepts to understand is how cavities work, and I'll just explain that very briefly. But the way cavities work is bacteria process carbohydrates, especially in high concentrations. And of course, we're all familiar with sugar, but it can be other carbohydrates as well. And then it makes acid. It's called lactic acid. And that acid is what weakens the enamel, or actually makes a little microscopic hole in the tooth. And that acid stays there for about 20 minutes until the saliva rinses it away. So that is the critical part of cavity formation. Of course, so the first step we tell every parent, and this is critical no matter what your age, you can be 90, 65 years old, is you've got to give your teeth a break. They need a rest. So eat every 3 hours, don't eat every 30 minutes, because even really healthy foods like fruit and milk will cause cavities if you carry them around all day. And of course, who's most likely to carry around a sippy cup of milk all day? Even though it's good for you, it's not good for your teeth if you have it all day long. So that's baby step number 1, is keeping those snack times organized with water between meals. But going back to the carbohydrates, so here's the interesting thing. So dentists know that the time that acid's on the teeth is one of the most important variables to prevent cavities. And if I were to say, do you think it'd be a good idea not to eat sticky starches? You know, if you could cut back on really sticky starches that stay stuck to your teeth, that would be a good idea. And every dentist would say, yeah, that's a great idea. Yet we're not quite practicing that because it's not intuitive what's sticky and what's not. If you were to ask 10 people what's stickier between bread or crackers, most people would say, well, you know what, the bread's stickier. That's going to stay on your teeth longer. And of course you go, well, are we not ever going to eat bread? But the good news is, actually, unfortunately, it's wrong. If bread stays on the teeth for about a minute, and a dried cracker stays on your teeth for about 9 or 10 minutes. So not only do people get it wrong, but it's just a dried cracker is 10 times as sticky as a piece of bread. So there's one simple biochemistry hack where if I just tell parents, you know what, then you know that normal snack that your kids are having all day, just substitute a piece of toast. They get the same nutrition, and it's not sticking on their teeth.
Yeah.
And
I was just going to say, a lot of what you talk about in the book is called More Chocolate, No Cavities, How Diet Can Keep Your Child Cavity Free. A lot of the foods that we commonly give our kids, dry cereal, crackers, dried fruit, we think we're doing the right thing, and you're just saying, no, you're not. You'd be better off giving them, chocolate from time to time is actually a better source of food for them.
Yeah, and of course, and I specifically promote dark chocolate. I think of dark chocolate more as a superfood with a little bit of sugar in it, maybe like a goji berry. It's got sugar in it, but it's good for you. Dark chocolate is very high in fat, especially the 7% or more dark chocolate. And the bacteria that make cavities can't process fat effectively to make the acid. So fat's actually good for your teeth. That's why you can't get cavities from meat or cheese. And also dark chocolate has a chemical in it called theobromine, and that's a catechin. It's been shown it may help enamel. In fact, one company, Theodent, made a toothpaste that took that chemical that you can use to strengthen your enamel. And of course, the one knock against dark chocolate, it has some sugar in it, but just like a goji berry, it's got some good benefits, but it still has some sugar. But that's my point, is you're better off to have, maybe a piece of dark chocolate once a day than you are to have a sticky, starch processed, that stays on your teeth 10 minutes, just regular cracker 3 times a day, where many parents and dentists and doctors get it backwards. They go, you know what, here's this healthy, in quotes, whole grain cracker. Go ahead and eat it all day. Oh, we better avoid that piece of dark chocolate because it's got a little bit of sugar in it. When they would have better off just switching to a piece of toast and just having a little piece of dark chocolate. The other dessert I like, if you must have dessert, of course, if you don't want to do dessert, it's fine, just don't do it. But I've got 3 kids. I know dessert happens, snacks happen. So we also like ice cream. Ice cream doesn't have the same health benefits as dark chocolate, but at least, even though it's got a lot of sugar, it just rinses away in just a few minutes. Just drink some afterwards. So again, it's very counterintuitive. I tell my patients, you're better off to have a scoop of ice cream after dinner than you are to eat Goldfish crackers 3 times a day. And they go, wow, that's actually easy. But the main thing is starting that habit. It's easy if I'm talking to a parent with young children that are 1 and they're starting. If you got a parent of a 3-year-old and they've been addicted to it for a few years, it's harder to make that habit change. But it's more effective. It sounds crazy, but I've had families that tell me that that's the one thing they did. They didn't even start flossing, and their younger kid, that's how they went from 8 cavities in their oldest kid, 0 cavities younger kid. So very minimal effort. I can't promise results like that for everyone, of course, but it's just so simple things like that can make a huge difference.
Dr. Roger Lucas, our guest on the program, his website is thedentistdad.com. Very simple, thedentistdad.com. The book is More Chocolate, No Cavities. Our diet can keep your child cavity-free. The book is available all across the country. Great information available at the website. You can link on directly to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and go to Dr. Lucas's website. What's interesting, too, is I would assume the techniques that you have, the diet recommendations you have, I don't have to be 5 years old to advantage from that, right? I mean, it's never too late to change. I would think that what works for a 5-year-old would work for an adult as well, correct?
100% correct. If you are taking medication that causes dry mouth, which I don't deal with that much, that would affect your saliva flow. So that would be something to talk to your doctor or dentist about. But there's been a lot of studies that look at the low carbohydrate diets, which I don't promote for children. But Dr. Philippe Pujol works at the University of Washington. It's in those studies for years. Again, if children, I think, need more energy, more carbohydrates. I've noticed even as I'm 10 years out of the school that my metabolism's slowing down and I can't handle as many carbohydrates as I used to without gaining weight. So if you're looking at that kind of diet, that'd actually be great for your teeth. But you don't have to go all low carbohydrate. That's how you work the system. So things like pasta and bread, even though they're got lots of flour and a lot of carbohydrates, at least they don't stick to the teeth. But if you've lived your whole life and you've been flossing and or maybe not, and you still wonder where all these cavities are coming from, and you think back, you go, oh, that's because I'm addicted to pretzels. I've solved that mystery for you. And I didn't know this for years. Some dentists, of course, have figured it out. But my point is, why did no one teach me when I got out of the dental school? And when I look at the science, I go, this is actually more important than anything else. Just, cut out that, go ahead and, like everything, have it once a day, have it every once in a while. But you want to eat something really, really sticky multiple times a day that gets jammed between your teeth and is processed. If you're going to get something jammed between your teeth, make it a whole food like spinach.
Yes.
So that's not going to break down into sugars that quickly.
What's interesting, too, is a zero cavity program doesn't require like a whole meal change for the family, does it? I mean, it's something that can be incorporated. So we're not talking about a dramatic lifestyle change here for everybody in the family.
Oh, no. In fact, I make a point in my book, I really don't even care about breakfast, lunch, and dinner because those are pretty standard. Most breakfast, lunch, and dinners are real foods. They're not from a box. Or even if it is from a box like pasta, you boil it, it's super soft. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner is almost doesn't matter. The only big difference is what they're drinking at that meal. And of course, milk or water is better than juice or chocolate milk. So that would be the one exception. But yeah, the breakfast, it's not major changes. My kids eat a bunch of stuff that is not nutritionally great. We eat a bunch of processed food. And of course, it would be better to switch to more whole foods. And I know this, but we're at a time in our life with 3 kids under age 6 where that's really difficult. And I totally understand that. So what we do is just say, hey, we're going to eat some processed food. It's going to be mac and cheese and a cheeseburger, but we're not going to eat pretzels or crackers all day. And if we do that one thing, then and at snack time, we have maybe an apple and cheese or an apple and a piece of bread, or, carrots with ranch sauce. It's the snack foods you have 3 times a day. Those are the things that make a difference over 3 years. Yeah. Like you said, no major changes. You just have to know which ones to focus on.
Yeah, and balance is very important. You can do something that maybe you're thinking I shouldn't do, but if it's done in moderation and balanced with everything else, it does make sense. A couple of minutes left in the program. We're talking with Dr. Roger Lucas. The book is called More Chocolate, No Cavities, How Diet Can Keep Your Kid Cavity-Free. The website is thedentistdad.com. I'm reading and surprised by this, that the family's youngest child is usually more prone to cavities. Why does that happen?
So this took me years before I even realized it was a trend in my practice. And, I'd see families and they'd come in, the checkups would be good. The oldest kid would have 0 cavities. And then I'd see the younger kid, checkups would look good. And then at age 5, their kid would be the one with 8 cavities. And the parents would look at me and go, why the heck would one kid have 0 and one kid have 8? We didn't change anything. We didn't add any candy. We did the exact same thing. And I used to which is dentists do, just shrug my shoulders and go, well, I guess the younger kid has weak enamel. If you think about that, why would every younger kid in America have weak enamel?
Yes.
It doesn't really make much sense to me. So again, it goes back to my hypothesis. I call it the cracker hypothesis, is, who's more likely to have a dry, sticky starch 3 times a day? And as I kind of joke, but it's completely true, is because we give the young food to keep them quiet. There's a little whining. Here, eat this. One sec.
Yeah, that happens.
And then, of course, the older kid, it's fresh fruits. Yeah, fresh fruits and vegetables from your garden, and you're just buying all the organic stuff. And by the third kid, it's like, let me just get this thing from a box from the wholesale store and just throw it out there. I totally get it, and I'm guilty of that too. But that's the thing, is on a lazy Saturday morning when I'm walking around like with my eyes half closed, I give her a hard-boiled egg that I bought from Costco and a piece of toast or bread instead of a goldfish cracker. And just that difference, I can still be lazy, which I totally get, but still not get cavities. And of course, I still make the rule, say, hey, when you're done eating, we've got to clean it up. You can't eat all day. And she whines the first day or 2, but she already knows as an 18-month-old that's how it goes. Yeah.
It's fascinating. The book is More Chocolate, No Cavities, How Diet Can Keep Your Kid Cavity-Free. Got a minute or so left with the guest, the author, Dr. Roger Lucas, who practices this. This has come from years of research. What's it like as you're dealing with families that come to you and you're explaining the concept, and they got to be looking at you like, say, what? What are we supposed to do? And then when you find out, with the case of the mother that had the one son that had like 8 cavities, and suddenly the younger siblings, they're coming back with the program, the diet-based program, and they have none. What's it like when they go like, wow, doc, good job here?
It's really nice. I have to admit, sometimes, by motivating someone to change, you don't get as much credit. And part of that's tactical. The way I try, every healthcare provider, we're like a motivational speaker. I have to get someone in an office, and in 5 minutes, I have to be nice, have them like me, not sound condescending, and convince them to make a switch every day of their life for the next 5 years. So part of the trick is trying to is just about just kind of planting that seed, and the parents still have to do the hard work. So I do give credit to the parents, because they're the ones every day in and out, saying, you know what, we're going to cut back on those. We're going to set those healthy limits. But it is so nice. I've had families where the oldest kid needed surgery because the cavities were so bad, and the younger kids had 0. And I'd sit and talk to them, and I'll go, it works. And they say,
well, the book is really interesting.
We have it up on a refrigerator, and we look at it.
The book is fascinating. More Chocolate, No Cavities, How Diet Can Keep Your Kid Cavity-Free by Dr. Roger Lucas. The book is available all across the country. Information at the website, thedentistdad.com. Dr. Lucas coming to us via Skype from his offices just a little bit north of Seattle. Doctor, enjoyed reading the book. Thank you so much for being on the program. And way to go. I guess it all starts with a question like a lot of your patients that come to see you. You started asking why. And why? Reducing is fine. Let's eliminate. And suddenly, by asking why enough, you were able to put this whole diet-based concept together. More chocolate, no cavities. A diet can keep your kid cavity-free. Thank you for being with us on the program.
Well, thanks so much, Rick. It was lots of fun.
You're listening to This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us, website thisweekinamerica.us, where you'll find information on all of our guests on today's program. Back after this.